Jean Piaget developed the stage theory of cognitive development. He was born in Switzerland in 1896. He received a doctorate in biology but was more interested in psychology. He applied the principles and methods of biology to understand human development and based his observations on his own 3 children. His theory of cognitive development includes 4 stages where new abilities are acquired at each stage. This is a constructivism view of cognitive development. In this view, meaning and understanding of reality is actively constructed through experiences and interactions with the environment. Piaget believed that people are born with a tendency to interact with the environment in order to understand it. People develop and use schemes to figure out information about objects and how to act. Schemes are patterns of behavior or thinking. When a current scheme doesn't explain something, an adaptation of the scheme occurs. This is the process of adjusting the scheme in response to the environment. There are 2 types of adaptations: assimilation and accommodation. The process of understanding a new object or event in terms of an existing scheme is assimilation, and the process of modifying an existing scheme with new information or new experiences is accommodation. For example, babies use the scheme hitting objects on surfaces to explore the world. Assimilation is when they hit new objects on surfaces. Accommodation occurs when the new object, let's say an egg, doesn't fit the existing scheme because the egg breaks, and now the baby's hitting scheme might change by only hitting certain objects on surfaces. Equilibration is restoring balance. It occurs when there is an imbalance or disequilibrium between what is understood and what is encountered. Learning depends on this process. Thinking back to the egg example, the baby was experiencing disequilibrium, and now learning can occur as balance is restored. The main points to emphasize about Piaget's stage theory is that each stage is passed through and cannot be skipped. People pass through stages at different rates. During a point of transition into a new stage, tasks associated with different stages can be performed at the same time. Lastly, Piaget emphasized that development precedes learning. The first stage, the sensory motor stage, occurs from birth to 2 years old. Infants use their senses and motor skills to explore the world. For example, babies put everything in their mouth. People are born with reflexes that initially help them explore their world. This exploration progresses towards intentional patterns of behavior from accidental efforts to trial and error efforts. During this stage, object permanence develops. This is when infants become aware that objects are physically stable and exist even when the objects are not physically present. For example, a baby that is only a few months old will not understand that their bottle is being covered by a blanket, but a 2-year-old will understand that their toy is under the blanket. The second stage is the pre-operational stage. It occurs from age 2 to 7 years old. Children develop a greater ability to think, but their thinking is still primitive. They can use symbols to mentally represent objects, develop language and concepts. They lack the understanding of the principle of conservation. An example of this is children believe there is more milk in a tall, thin glass compared to milk in a short, wide glass, even when it's the same amount of milk. This can be explained by centration and undeveloped understanding of reversibility. Centration is only paying attention to one aspect of a situation, and reversibility is the ability to change a direction in thinking to return to a starting point. Children in the pre-operational stage are egocentric and think everyone sees the world like they do. The third stage is the concrete operational stage, and it occurs from age 7 to 11 years old. Abstract thought is difficult in this stage, but children in this stage have the ability to form concepts, see relationships, and solve problems with familiar objects and situations. Children in this stage can add, subtract, multiply, divide, order, number by size, and classify objects by specific criteria. The concept of reversibility eliminates the conservation problems that children in the pre-operational stage have. Inferred reality develops, which is the ability to see things in the context of other meanings. For example, in this stage, children will understand that a red car is still red even when a black filter is applied. In comparison, a child in the pre-operational stage will think the car is black. The ability to arrange things in logical progression develops. This is called seriation, and an example is arranging sticks based on lengths. Transitivity develops, which is the ability to infer a relationship between 2 objects on the basis of knowledge of their respective relationships with a third object. This requires reversible thinking, understanding the concepts of inversion and reciprocity. Children in this stage have what would happen if thoughts as long as objects are in view. They understand time and space and are building an understanding of the past events. They have decentered objective thought in comparison to egocentric thoughts. This means children understand that other people can have a different perspective than they do. For example, they can understand that another person may see different pictures in the clouds. The fourth stage is the formal operational stage, and it occurs from 11 years old to adulthood. Abstract thinking is developed. People have the ability to think about their own thinking, systematically approach problem solving, and reason about hypothetical situations. Not all people develop the skills in the formal operational stage. Criticisms to Piaget's stage theory. Changes in cognitive function occur earlier than he suggested. Research now shows tasks can be taught to children before developmental stage is reached. The concept of set stages is difficult to justify due to the gradual progression in skills. Experience in direct teaching affects the pace of development. Skills develop in different ways on different tasks and experience, including direct teaching influences the pace of development. The neo-Piagetian views of development focus on specific types of tasks versus overall stages, acknowledge the training and experience, influence development, and emphasize the impact of culture, social context, and education in the development process. Classroom application. The classroom applications for the stage theory emphasizes developmentally appropriate education, which is education with environments, curriculum, materials, and instruction that is suitable for students in terms of their physical and cognitive abilities and their emotional needs. Teaching implications include focusing on the thinking process that achieves the product and not just the correct answer for the product. Recognize the importance of self-initiated active involvement in learning activities by encouraging students to discover for themselves by interacting with the environment. This can be accomplished by providing a variety of activities for students to act directly on the physical world. Do not encourage children to think like adults because premature teaching could be worse than not teaching at all, because it does not always lead to a true cognitive understanding of a topic. Accept individuals' differences in developmental progress. Make a special effort to arrange classroom activities for individuals and small groups of children and assess each student based on their own previous work rather than comparing with peers.